Alrighty guys, today we are going to be replacing this tool head on my Ankermake M5. Now I have had this since it launched on Kickstarter. This was a Kickstarter model. It's been a labor of love. When I first got this machine, absolutely blown away by it. As I've put hours on it, the shine has worn off. But like I said, it can be a rock steady printer. One of the things I ran into is I started having problems with the circuit board in here, and I went to get a hold of Ankermake and say, hey, you know, why can't I find just a board to replace this? Why can't I get pieces for this tool head like other companies? I said, because we sell it as a whole unit. So I broke down and bought the unit. We're going to go ahead and install it. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our handy Ankermake toolkit that came with it. I'm assuming this comes with all of them. Like I said, I had the Kickstarter, so I don't think I got anything out of the ordinary from anybody else, but like I said, we will see. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to pull this out, and there are two screws that hold this down. We're going to go ahead and undo those. Let me find the one that I need. If you have other tools, I'm sure there's better tools you can use for this, but like I said, I'm just going to use what they gave me. So fun fact I found out after I bought the new tool head is there's a version 1 and there's a version 2. This is the version 1 obviously, and the version 2 is improved. So we'll see how that goes. One of the things I didn't like about this tool head was the hot end. For a hot second, they offered an all-metal hot end, and I picked one up, and that's actually installed in here. I'm going to remove that. I'm also going to save this for spare parts, just in case. Whoops. And I'm already losing screws. How about that? So, we got that. Be careful with your screws. I see the screw on the ground. After we have that removed, do next, we're going to flip this bad boy around. So one of the things we're going to want to do to get this off of here is we're going to want to take this cover off. So what's going to happen is this top's just going to pop off. In the new tool head, you'll do the same thing. Now what makes this tool head a little bit different is just the fact that it's got some screws, some additional screws that hold everything together. So we're going to go ahead and get these out. So after those two are out, this will just pop off. Alrighty, so once you got this top shot off, we're going to take these screws out. I'll flip this bad boy around. There'll be one screw left here in the front. Alright, so once that is off, you can now see you have access to pretty much everything. Here's the, ooh, that's on there. So yeah, you have access to about everything right there. You know, here's your extruder motor, your gears, you know, things of that nature. It's not too bad. Like I said, this thing, I've had it apart quite a bit. But yeah, so let's go ahead and see if we can get this out here. Come out of there. So you go. Got that, so that's out of the way. So the reason you want that out of the way, there's a couple of screws back here. Let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, zoom. There's a couple of screws right here. These are for the belt, so you want to be able to get to those. Alright, so now we can flip this bad boy around again. This bottom wheel, there's this side of the plate you can see here. Let me zoom in. Anyways. So you see this side of the plate, and then there's this side of the plate. On this inner side, there's a nut in there. We need our wrench for that. It helps if when I'm doing this, I have the tool in here. You just loosen that, and once you loosen that, this will kind of just pop right off. And let me show you, so you can get a good look. Here's where that nut is. right there. So let's go ahead and look at our new one. Let me get this box open. So there's some things a little bit different. So as you can see, when we open up this box, this piece here, that's not on the other one. So what happens is there's a piece you can attach to this, and it'll hold that wire. So it helps stabilize it. Also, there's a lot less screws on here. We'll take a look. So with this one, it looks like, what a day to cut my nails. So there's a little, you just pop this top, just like the other one. And then it's going to make me look silly now. Get a good grip, you can just pop this off, the shot off, and now boom, you're inside. For all intents and purposes, it looks a lot like the other one. So, you got to remember, we got to take this piece off here, because this is where the belt is going to attach. So we'll set those screws off this side there. So there is this attachment. Got these here. Let's go ahead while we're at it and put this on. Looks like this goes on there like that. And screws on from the back. Let's just go ahead and get that on while we're here. Also, don't forget to plug your fans back in. I was just looking, I haven't plugged my fans in. You definitely want to make sure those are plugged in. I don't know if this is going to make much of a difference on the machine or not, but I'm sure there's a reason they added it to the newer model. So I got that on there. Let's plug in some fans. And we'll take our wrench. We'll go down to this bottom one here. Like I said, we'll put that on that end. Start to, there you go. So one of the things you're going to want to do when you're going in the bottom, you're going to go in at kind of like an angle and get this. And then that'll loosen that wheel up so that you can do your thing. Let's try it. Perfect. So then we just go in reverse order. We start tightening her down. And don't drop it. So, news flash. These are on their own plate. We're going to take off these 4 screws and take this plate off. So yeah, I feel kind of dumb now. Then again, there really isn't instructions on this. And so this makes it a lot easier to get to everything you need to get to. How about that? Once this is on here, you can, here's your top 2 screws, your bottom 2 screws are down here. You can just, well, we can just, wow. Like I feel really silly right now. But then again, that's why we do these videos. We're learning, we're doing stuff. Just, you know, all I can say is wow. So once you got that on there, there's a bolt between this plate and this wheel. And you can loosen or tighten it. You want to make sure it flows really freely. And then, what the heck? So there's that. Let's flip this bad boy around. We have to change this piece out also. So let's just take a look here. As you can see, these are 2 different pieces. I kind of freaked out because I was like, oh no, these don't fit. And then I went to look for this. I couldn't find it anywhere. Well, it turns out it was stuck to the bottom of one of my magnetic poles. Like I've literally spent the last hour trying to find this thing. Let's slide that way. So these have a little, I forget what it's called, like a recess screw. Unscrew that a little bit. Alrighty. So if we take our 2.5 bit, there's a hole in here for a belt tensioner. And you can adjust that and loosen the belt. So let's try this again. Oh, let me make sure I got the right bit on this before I start screwing around. Don't bump. Maybe we'll do much like we did last time. Get those two there. Yeah, get in there. Oh, that's much better. Get in there, get in there. Almost wish I could just grab those, you know. Let's see how that does. Alrighty, so that was was that a project? So anyways, I found this piece. I got that in there. Ready to put this on. The belt seems as tight, about as tight as it's going to get. So I was having some issues with the belt, and so this screw had come out. This is, yeah. So I'm going to have to at some point replace that. I may have some issues with how tight this belt is. Get another couple turns. That's good. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so that belt ended up doing pretty good, so I got that in there. Awesome possum. Cool. All right. But, like I said, to fix what I did, so this screw would come out of the tension setting. And so I had to take this cover off. Now this cover just pops right off. There's one screw here, and there's two in the bottom, and then this just lifts on and off. So let me put this back on here. Make sure everything's in place. And then this is where your runout sensor is at, just in case you guys needed to know that. So anyways, we'll screw that back together. So we'll test this. There's no wobble. It's on there good. It's moving freely. We will get that on there. Now we have this bad boy. As you can see, that's where that fits. But we're going to turn this around so we can properly put these screws in. And I'm actually, I think I'm going to do away with using the Anker tool set for a minute. I really prefer the iFixit one, but like I said, I was trying to do this as if you guys were doing it on your own. Bleh. All right, like I said, there'll be 4 screws for this one. So what I'm going to say is, let's just go here and just loosely mount one, because that way it's kind of in there, it's kind of stuck there. One of these bottom ones. And once you got those 4 screws in, so that's on there good. So make sure everything is plugged in. So first things first, we'll put this in here. Then we'll put the 2 in the back. You can see there's some holes drilled here. One of the things I've heard is some of these still have the whatchamahoots on them. Let's turn this around. A lot of flipping this around. Normally you just walk around the table while you're doing this, but you know, heaven forbid we got to get a shot. So that all clips in like that. Then that clips in. Then we'll take our USB-C and we will connect that bad boy in there. Push. That's tough to fit in there, so get that in there. I will put the couple of screws in the top. So there we are. Our Anker Humpty Dumpty's back together. We are going to, I'll show you the results afterwards. Gotta catch my breath, but we are going to go ahead and calibrate this with the calibrations. We're going to do bed level, all that stuff. And then we will go from there. And like I said, I'll show the results of that once we get that done. Alrighty, down here in the dungeon, we've did the benchy. Let's see. Oh, come on, focus. You know, this is what I get for, there we go. So it's not bad. I could probably do some tweaking, but like I said, we're back in business. It's definitely passable. There's some things I could do with this, but like I said, there we go. There's some trials and tribulations to this one. Well, man, like I said, this printer really put me through it. It's too bad. Like I said, it's not going to be a supported thing anymore. I'm hoping somebody starts making parts for it, or you know, maybe there starts to become some upgrades or something, because it's not a bad printer, but I mean, it came out at the wrong time. So this is one that came out right when the I believe the X1 Carbon came out. I think they're both on Kickstarter at the same time, because I remember a buddy of mine getting the Carbon, and I'm like, that's too expensive for my taste, but I still spent quite a bit on this one. But like I said, it didn't cost as much as the Carbon. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video helps if you end up in the same situation that I did and you need to replace your tool head. Always keep an eye out, like and subscribe. Catch you later.